Hi, if you've forgotten, I'm Peter from the YouTube channel B&B Spoilers. Welcome back to my channel. I am absolutely thrilled to reveal today's shocking spoilers. We are diving into a heartbreaking medical crisis for Daphne and Carter, and a massive romantic collision involving Will, Electra, and a very calculating Dylan. Let's get right into the drama. The sterile, suffocating walls of the hospital examination room press inward as Daphne Rose Walton sits paralyzed on the edge of the examination table. The blinding fluorescent lights cast a harsh, unforgiving glow over her trembling hands. For months, she and Carter Walton have been trapped in a silent, agonizing cycle of hope and despair, praying for a positive pregnancy test that never comes. The sheer psychological weight of their private struggle has brought Daphne to this terrifying precipice. She has come to Dr. Lee Finnegan desperate for answers, desperate for a medical miracle, but the atmosphere in the room is heavy with an impending sense of doom. The crinkling of the paper beneath her feels deafening in the dead silence. Dr. Lee Finnegan enters the room, her usually stoic and clinical demeanor betraying a flicker of profound sympathy. Lee is a woman of science, a doctor who has delivered countless diagnoses, but the sheer devastation she is about to unleash on the young, hopeful bride is a heavy burden even for her. Lee does not sugarcoat the reality. With a steady but somber voice, she delivers the catastrophic medical news that will permanently alter the trajectory of Daphne's life. Lee looks directly into Daphne's tear-filled eyes and confirms the absolute worst-case scenario. Daphne is going through early menopause. She is completely infertile. The dream of carrying Carter's child has just been violently ripped away in a matter of seconds. The words echo in the small room like a death knell. Early menopause. Infertility. Daphne's vision blurs as the sheer magnitude of the diagnosis crashes over her like a tidal wave. Her breath catches in her throat, a choked sob escaping her lips as she physically doubles over from the emotional agony. This is not just a medical setback, this is the complete obliteration of the future she and Carter had so meticulously planned. The nursery they dreamed of, the family they desperately wanted to build, all of it evaporates into the cold, clinical air of the hospital. Daphne feels a sickening hollowness in her chest, a profound sense of inadequacy that threatens to consume her entirely. Steffi Forrester Finnegan stands fiercely by Daphne's side, serving as the ultimate emotional anchor in this apocalyptic moment. When Daphne collapses into a fit of uncontrollable sobbing, Steffi immediately wraps her arms around her friend, holding her tightly as the tears soak into her shoulder. Steffi has been Daphne's rock since she moved from Paris to Los Angeles, organizing her bachelorette party and standing by her at her wedding. Now, Steffi is standing by her through the darkest moment of her life. Steffi's eyes blaze with a fierce, protective empathy as she whispers words of comfort, trying to hold the shattered pieces of Daphne's heart together. But Steffi knows that no amount of comfort can erase the devastating reality of Lee's diagnosis. As the initial shock begins to subside, a new, even more terrifying dread begins to take hold of Daphne. The agonizing realization that she has to leave this hospital and break the news to Carter paralyzes her. Carter Walton is a man who has always worn his heart on his sleeve, a man who has desperately craved a family and a legacy of his own for years. He has stood by Daphne through every negative test, always offering a hopeful smile and a reassuring embrace. The thought of looking into her husband's eyes and telling him that she can never give him the child he so deeply desires makes Daphne physically ill. She is terrified that this catastrophic revelation will be the ultimate test of their marriage, a test that could potentially break the unbreakable bond they share. Meanwhile, on the other side of Los Angeles, a completely different kind of devastation is unfolding on the cold, unforgiving sands of the beach. Electra Forrester sits completely alone, her knees pulled tightly to her chest as the crashing waves mirror the violent, chaotic turmoil raging inside her mind. The freezing ocean wind whips her hair across her tear-stained face, but she barely feels the chill. All she can feel is the crushing, suffocating weight of her own massive pride. Just hours ago, she firmly and aggressively dumped Will Spencer, severing their relationship over the Spencer family business secrets. She had drawn a hard line in the sand, choosing the Forrester family loyalty over the man she loved. But now, in the deafening silence of the beach, the adrenaline of her anger has completely faded, leaving behind a sickening surge of remorse. Electra stares out at the dark, endless horizon, her mind relentlessly replaying the happiest memories she shared with Will. The way he looked at her, the way he held her, the promises they made to each other before the toxic corporate war between Logan and Forrester tore them apart. As the distance clears her head, a horrifying epiphany strikes her. She realizes with absolute clarity that she was far too harsh, far too selfish. She had completely failed to understand the immense, suffocating pressure Will was under from his ruthless father, Bill Spencer. Bill is a master manipulator, a corporate titan who demands absolute, unquestioning loyalty from his sons. Will was trapped in an impossible position, forced to keep the secrets of Hope's defection, the jewelry line, and the hope for the future diamond. Elektra realizes she punished Will for Bill's sins, holding him to an impossible standard while completely ignoring his desperate attempts to protect her. The remorse surges through Elektra's veins like a poison when she receives the horrifying news about Will's current state. She learns through the grapevine that Will is currently spiraling into a deep, unstable psychological crisis. The man she loves is completely falling apart, turning to heavy alcohol to drown the agonizing sorrow of losing her. The image of Will, broken, feral, and drowning in whiskey because of her actions, makes Elektra physically sick to her stomach. She blames herself entirely. Her massive, unyielding pride pushed the man she loves into a deep, inescapable pit of despair. She realizes that her rigid demand for absolute transparency was nothing but a toxic manifestation of her own insecurities, and now it has cost her everything. Tears stream down Elektra's face as she desperately longs to turn back time. She wishes she could rewind the clock, walk back into that room, and wrap her arms around Will instead of spitting bitter, unforgiving words at him. She wants to hold him, to tell him that they can fight Bill Spencer's toxic influence together, that their love is stronger than any corporate fashion war. But as she sits shivering on the beach, a terrifying thought paralyzes her. It seems too late to salvage things. The damage is done. The bridge is burned. And what Elektra does not know is that while she is sitting on the beach drowning in regret, a highly calculated, predatory threat is already making a move on the vulnerable, heartbroken man she left behind. Inside the dimly lit, suffocatingly quiet beach house, Will Spencer is a man completely unhinged. The feral, untamed grief of losing Elektra has stripped away his polished, corporate exterior, leaving behind a raw, volatile shell of a man. He sits slumped on the sofa, a heavy crystal glass of amber liquid clutched in his white-knuckled grip. The alcohol burns his throat, but it does absolutely nothing to numb the agonizing pain in his chest. Will is spiraling completely out of control. He blames himself for everything. He replays the moment Elektra walked out the door over and over again, the memory torturing him like a physical wound. He hates himself for keeping the Logan secrets, but he hates his father even more. Bill Spencer's toxic, arrogant voice echoes relentlessly in Will's mind. Bill had coldly dismissed Will's heartbreak, telling him that losing Elektra was simply the cost of doing business, reminding him that there are plenty of other fish in the sea. The sheer callousness of his father's advice makes Will's blood boil. He doesn't want another fish in the sea. He only wants Elektra. He loves her with a desperate, all-consuming passion, and he refuses to give up on their relationship. But as the alcohol clouds his judgment and the crushing loneliness of the beach house closes in on him, Will's psychological stability begins to rapidly deteriorate. He is a wounded animal, bleeding out in the dark, desperately in need of comfort. Enter Melissa Dillon, the master manipulator. The opportunistic predator disguised in the sheep's clothing of a supportive best friend. Dillon has been waiting for this exact moment with calculated, breathless anticipation. Earlier that day, Dillon had played her role perfectly. She had sat across from Elektra, offering a warm, comforting hug and a sympathetic ear as Elektra unloaded all her anger and heartbreak. Dillon had listened intently, her eyes wide with fake concern, as Elektra detailed the brutal breakup. But Dillon was not there to comfort Elektra, she was there on a reconnaissance mission. She needed absolute, undeniable confirmation that the door to Will Spencer's heart was officially open. When Dillon pressed Elektra to confirm that the breakup was final, and Elektra answered without hesitation that it was over, everything changed. Dillon pulled Elektra into a hug that looked like pure, sweet friendship to anyone watching. But behind Elektra's back, Dillon's eyes gleamed with a dark, calculating ambition. She had gathered exactly what she needed. The profile was complete. Will was single, completely heartbroken, intensely vulnerable, and highly intoxicated. The timing could not possibly be more perfect. Dylan knows Will intimately. She knows his triggers, she knows his weaknesses, and she knows exactly how to slide into the emotional void that Electra just violently ripped open. Wasting absolutely no time, Dylan arrives at the beach house, her demeanor instantly shifting from the supportive friend to the seductive savior. She finds Will in his darkest, most pathetic state, surrounded by the heavy stench of alcohol and despair. Dylan does not judge him, instead, she weaponizes her sympathy. She steps into his space with slow, deliberate movements, her voice dripping with a honeysweet, intoxicating comfort. She looks at the broken man in front of her and sees nothing but a golden opportunity. Dylan knows that she is crossing a massive, unforgivable line. She knows that acting on her deep, hidden desires for will come at a steep, catastrophic cost. If she goes through with this, she will permanently destroy her friendship with Electra forever. But as Dylan looks at Will, the sheer temptation completely overrides her conscience. She doesn't care about loyalty anymore. She doesn't care about Electra's feelings. All she cares about is claiming the prize she has secretly coveted for months. Dylan sits down next to Will, the physical proximity sending a dangerous, electric charge through the heavy air of the room. She reaches out, her hand gently resting on his arm, her touch acting as a soothing balm to his frayed, volatile nerves. Will, blinded by his pain and desperate for any semblance of human connection, completely fails to see the trap closing around him. He looks at Dylan, seeing only a safe harbor in the middle of a raging, apocalyptic storm. Will begins to open up, his voice cracking as he pours out his agonizing pain and regret. He confesses how much he blames himself, how much he misses Electra, how completely lost he feels in the shadow of the Spencer and Forrester corporate war. Dylan listens, nodding sympathetically, validating every single one of his toxic, spiraling thoughts. She subtly strokes his ego, telling him that he deserves better, that he shouldn't be punishing himself, that he needs someone who truly understands him. With every word, Dylan weaves a tight, inescapable web around his vulnerable heart. Will finds himself leaning into her comfort, the alcohol breaking down his usual defenses, allowing Dylan to grow dangerously, intimately closer to him. The sheer dramatic irony of the situation is absolutely explosive. At the exact same moment that Dylan is executing her masterful, predatory seduction in the beach house, Electra is sitting on the cold sand just miles away, finally realizing the massive error of her ways. Electra's heart is completely breaking as she decides she wants to fight for Will, to apologize, to rescue him from the dark pit of despair she pushed him into. She wants to run back to the beach house and throw herself into his arms. But Electra is completely blind to the fact that her supposed best friend is already there, aggressively staking her claim on the man she loves. The collision course is set, and the impending impact threatens to cause catastrophic damage to everyone involved. If Electra rushes back to the beach house to salvage her relationship, what exactly will she walk in on? Will she find the man she loves locked in a passionate, unforgivable embrace with her closest confidant? Will Dylan's calculated gamble pay off, securing her a future with the Spencer heir, or will it blow up in her face, leaving her with absolutely nothing? And how will react when he realizes he is caught in the crossfire of two women, his heart still belonging to Electra but his vulnerable body responding to Dylan's toxic comfort? The stakes have never been higher, and the emotional wreckage is guaranteed to be absolute. As the sun sets over Los Angeles, the shadows lengthen, mirroring the dark, twisted secrets and betrayals taking root in the hearts of these characters. Daphne and Carter are standing on the edge of a marital abyss, their dreams of a family shattered by a cruel twist of biological fate. Will they survive the agonizing grief of infertility, or will the crushing weight of the diagnosis tear them apart forever? Meanwhile, the love triangle between Will, Electra, and Dylan is a ticking time bomb, counting down to a massive, sensational explosion that will leave permanent scars. The drama is escalating at a breakneck pace, and absolutely no one is safe from the impending fallout. The tension is absolutely suffocating as these two explosive storylines barrel toward their inevitable climaxes. Daphne is trapped in a sterile nightmare, terrified to shatter her husband's heart with the devastating truth of her early menopause. Carter is blissfully unaware that the family he has prayed for is a biological impossibility. On the other side of town, Electra's massive pride has finally cracked, replaced by a desperate, consuming need to save the man she loves from the psychological abyss she pushed him into. But Dylan is already there, a predatory shadow moving in for the kill, ready to sacrifice years of friendship for a single night of stolen passion. The board is set, the pieces are moving, and the destruction is guaranteed. Will Elektra walk through that beach house door and witness the ultimate, unforgivable betrayal between her true love and her best friend? Wow, the drama in this plot was absolutely explosive today. Thank you all so much for watching and supporting. I'm Emma Bennett, wishing you a wonderful and beautiful day ahead.